Good morning, everyone. My name is Father Kyle. Today, we reflect a little bit on evangelization, how to spread the gospel, because I think we have a good example of that in our first reading today from St. Paul to the Thessalonians. If we remember back to Monday, St. Paul was reminding those Thessalonians of how he was among them. He was saying, back when I was with you in person, remember how I acted, how I shared with you the gospel. And today, I think he gives us perhaps even a little three-step process of how to first share the gospel with somebody. Because if we look at the gospel today, we're kind of in the woe chapter of Matthew, where Jesus is saying, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees." It's kind of hitting them with the hard truth, and that message is maybe kind of important for certain groups of people. But when someone's just learning about the gospel, or maybe parents are encouraging their children, I think we have a great example from St. Paul in the first reading today. So he begins off by saying, "You recall, brothers and sisters, my toil and drudgery, working night and day in order not to burden any of you." So St. Paul is saying he's trying to not place a burden on these people, not trying to impose himself, not trying to get too focused on, payment or riches or fame or cultivating his own little group. Which is to say, he's not focused on some ulterior motives. He wants to spread the gospel to these people of Thessalonica, out of a pure intention, to spread the good news, to bring them to Jesus Christ. So that's step one for us too. When we're sharing the gospel with someone, do we have a true intention? We don't want to just make somebody a project. We want to have their authentic good in mind and not have these ulterior motives. Secondly, St. Paul says, "You are witnesses, and so is God, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we behaved toward you." So he's saying, you saw in my example, my Christian example, how I spread the gospel to you. I lived devoutly, justly, and blamelessly, right? So the importance of that Christian example, that lived example in spreading the good news. So no ulterior motives, then having a good example, Christian example. And finally, and thirdly, St. Paul says, "As you know, we treated each one of you as a father treats his children, exhorting and encouraging you and insisting that you walk in a manner worthy of God." So he's saying, finally, at the end, I gave you this encouragement. And the word encouragement or exhortation, just as a father treats his children, right? Someone who really is concerned, invested, and loves the person they're sharing the gospel with. So that's kind of the three-step process I think we get to today. So no ulterior motives, have a great Christian example, practical example, and then gently encourage. Finally, we have the example of St. Louis today, whose memorial we celebrate. St. Louis, King of France, a great example of a Christian king and a Christian father. He had 11 children. And there's a surviving letter that he wrote to one of his sons that's very beautiful, so I'd encourage you to look for that, where he exhorts his son to live a Christian life, to focus on the kingdom of God. And I think it really follows the example that St. Paul gives us here today too. We can see that at work in St. Louis. So today we have two examples for us, St. Paul and St. Louis. We ask for their intercession, especially in spreading the gospel to those around us. Just as a father or a parent treats their child, so too we want to share the good news of Jesus Christ. God bless you. Take care.